for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Supervisor Vecchio?
Here.
Councilman McCarthy?
Here.
Councilman Wareheim?
Here.
Councilman Malloy?
Here.
Prior to the meeting, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to move to go into an executive session, which is a private session of the town board. We will not take more than 5 minutes, and then we'll come back and resume the agenda.
Second.
Supervisor Vecchio?
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy?
Yes.
Councilman Wareheim?
Yes.
Councilman Malloy?
Yes.
Benny, I'm going to ask you to reconvene the board. Are they ready up there?
Yeah, but we need to go
Oh.
John.
Millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars.
Wait a minute.
Okay?
Don't open it. Don't
Okay.
Just go to the
Okay.
next one.
We should just say that's being put over for...
You can do that
No,
on the
you're gonna
record,
do
John.
Okay, before we go to the first public hearing, we have a statement by the town attorney regarding number 1 on the agenda.
You're on now, John.
Mr. Supervisor, members of the town board, with respect to the public hearing number 1 on the calendar, petition 2011-13, after having a discussion in executive session, I recommend that this case be postponed for a future date, so myself and the planning director can review certain legal issues that I think need to be resolved before we can proceed any further.
Is that okay with the attorney for the,
I spoke to Mr. Shore, and he understands.
okay.
Leonard Shore on behalf of the applicant. I did speak with Mr. Zolo. I understand what some of the issues are. I mean, I think there may be various interpretations under the town code that either may allow this application to go ahead as it's currently configured, or maybe the town will reach a different decision. I will work with Mr. Zolo. I think there's some case law that would allow the town board especially to make a determination.
Thank you, Mr. Shore.
Thank you.
We're not moving to adjourn, we're just going to, postpone to a future date.
Okay.
And as far as the people are concerned, just for their edification, there will be new notices?
There'll be new notices that'll go out when the next date is set.
Very good. Thank you very much.
you.
Good night.
Okay, number 2. Wow, Jesus. It's getting late here.
Sir, do you have a general question before we begin this meeting?
I need your name and your address, please.
My name is William Lau. I live at 109 Manitou Trail in Kings Park. 109 Manitou Trail in Kings Park. I understand the postponement. I was just wondering if there was going to be any information about the specifics of the project that were going to be released before the next meeting.
Wow, okay. Well, they will have to apply on a later date. The current, I don't want to say words here that we could be sued about. I'm not going to let them go. They will have to make a new application,
With details involved?
of course.
Okay, and will that be released to the public?
Not just the way it is normally, just as a
Okay.
normal public hearing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next public hearing is to consider proposed amendments to Chapter 322 of the Code.
Mr. Supervisor, members of the board, my name is Frank DeRubies. I'm the Director of Planning and Community Development for the town of Smithtown. The amendment that's before you is an amendment to change some of the conditions with regard to site plan exemptions. If you recall, the Department of Environment and Waterways modified their standards as to what would qualify for a site plan exemption. A site plan exemption is an application which does not need full site plan review. In the past, any trees over 6 inches in diameter that would be cut required a full site plan. What the Department of Environment and Waterways recommended that a small number of trees may be cut down with this and not require a full site plan. Unless there's any questions by the board, that's basically the sum and substance of the amendment.
Okay, anybody wish to be heard on this matter? I'll close the hearing.
Second.
Supervisor Vecchio?
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy?
Yes.
Councilman Wareheim?
Yes.
Councilman Malloy?
Next public hearing is to consider amendments to Chapter 248 as relates to preliminary layout and final plot.
Mr. Supervisor, members of the town board, my name is John Zolo, town attorney for the town of Smithtown. With respect to the proposed amendments to Chapter 248 subdivision of land of the town code, the preliminary layout and final plat with respect to subdivisions, there are conditions that have previously been imposed, and we're making these amendments to comply with the stormwater pollution prevention plan. And they're just definitions of conditions and that have been followed in the past, but they're being inserted into the code to be consistent with requirements of the stormwater pollution plan. And it's basically housekeeping and bringing the town, taking the standards that have been applied and putting them into the town code with respect to stormwater drainage.
Is the New York State stormwater runoff regulations?
Yes.
And is there anything changing as to the policies we've been using? No. Same? Same policies, yes. No increase in drainage necessary in a certain area?
No, we're not increasing the drainage. We've always had the same standards. What we're doing is following the new state guidelines.
Okay. Is that, can you explain to me, I'm just concerned because of some previous issues. Is that on existing sites or new sites?
This is for proposed subdivisions.
Subdivisions?
Yes.
Okay.
This is when they submit their subdivision applications, they have to address that
Not on
specific
an
issue.
existing site that they're
No,
modifying?
that's a different issue.
Okay.
I know what you're talking about. That's a different issue.
Okay, thank you.
This has to do with the preliminary layouts when the initial application for new applications. It's not
Thank you.
applied retroactively.
Anyone wish to be heard on this? I'll move to close.
Second. Supervisor Vecchio?
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy?
Yes.
Councilman Wareheim?
Yes.
Councilman Malloy?
Town board to consider proposal local law 3 of 2012, amending local law 12 of 1984, entitled trees.
Mr. Supervisor, again, John Zolo on behalf of the town of Smithtown. This is a housekeeping measure amending the proposed local law 3, well, it's proposed local law 3, 2012, amending local law 12, 1984, chapter 285, again, to bring us in compliance with the New York State requirement with respect to stormwater management and erosion. And you have just a new part of the application procedure, again, to make it consistent. What has been the past practice is we're adding subdivision 7 for the stormwater pollution prevention plan. Excuse me. And we're just adding that as a requirement that you comply with that for the removal of the trees. And that's all it's
Okay.
about.
Anyone wish to be heard on this? I'll move to close.
Second. Supervisor Vecchio?
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy?
Yes.
Councilman Wareheim?
Yes.
Councilman Malloy?
Yes.
Mr. Warehouse.
Thank you.
Want to read, Eddie?
Under Board of Water Commissioners, number 1, town clerk to advertise bid 12040, water distribution and supply material. Number 2, transfer of funding. Number 3 is a transfer of funding, and number 4 is a full-time appointment of Linda Recessi Scattini to the position of account clerk in the Smithtown Water District.
Councilman Malloy?
Yes.
Councilman Wareheim?
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy?
Yes.
Supervisor Vecchio?
The correspondence. Number 1, parade run walk, Elwood Comac Post, second reading. Number 2, parade run walk, Kings Park High School Homecoming Parade, second reading. Number 3, special event, St. Philip's and James Roman Catholic Church Annual Carnival, second reading. Number 4, Parade Run Walk, Tacan Elementary School, PTA Family Walk Run, second reading. Number 5, Special Event, Friends and Farmers, Inc., Farmers Market, first reading. Number 6, Building Department Report, March 2012. Number 7, Parade Run Walk, Comac Volunteer Ambulance 5K Run, first reading. Under resolutions, number 1, the town board to authorize the town clerk to advertise for the following bids to be returned to town hall. 99 West Main Street, Smithtown, New York, at 11 a.m. on the dates indicated. A, road marking machine. B, planting of street trees.
Councilman Malloy.
Yes.
Councilman Wareheim.
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy.
Yes.
Supervisor
Yes.
Vecchio.
Number 2, the town board to award the following bids and to authorize the purchase of associated goods and services. A, bid 12020, lawn and garden supplies to various vendors. B, street lighting material, Class 5 to Kelly and Hayes, Class 6 to City Energy. C, masonry supplies, Elm Transit Mix, All Island Mason, Barasso and Sons, Smithtown Concrete, Express Concrete. And D, street lighting repairs in the Hot Bog Industrial Area to Hink Electric, as per bids opened April 12, 2012.
Councilman Malloy.
Yes.
Councilman Wareheim.
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy.
Yes.
Supervisor Vecchio.
Yes.
Number 3, the town board to approve the following: acceptance of a recertification of records of activities filed by the receiver of taxes with regard to required standard workday reporting to the New York State Local Employees Retirement System. B, town clerk to issue a parade walk run, VFW Elwood Post. C, town clerk to issue a parade walk run, Tacan Elementary School. D, town clerk to issue a special event permit, St. Philip's and James, for their annual carnival. E, town clerk to issue parade run walk permit to the Kings Park High School. F, John B. Zolo, town attorney, and Matthew Jakubowski, deputy town attorney, to attend Lorman Education Services Seminar on Public Contract Code and Competitive Bidding. G, authorized school-age child care staff, as per the attached list, to attend High Hello Conference for child care providers. And H, settlement of a grievance arbitration case 11-615 CSEA versus the town of Smithtown, as stipulation of settlement agreement.
Councilman Malloy.
Yes.
Councilman Wareheim.
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy.
Yes.
Supervisor Vecchio.
Yes, Mr. McCarthy?
The town board, after due study and deliberation of subject record, to issue a secret negative declaration of termination of non-significance in the following matters for reasons stated in a memorandum on the dates indicated before A, B, C, and D. A, application for site plan approval of Standard Microsystems. B, application for site plan approval by LNK International. C, application for site plan approval by Joyce Blair for Murata Medical Office Building. And D, application for site plan approval for Farad and Farad Group for ZAR Cafe.
Councilman Malloy.
Yes.
Councilman Wareheim.
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy.
Yes.
Supervisor
Yes.
Vecchio.
Item number 5, the town board to authorize the acceptance of 5A through E. People's United Bank Passport donations, donations for drug lockbox, accept donations for the animal shelter, and accept donations for the planning department as per the items of the agenda.
Councilman Malloy.
Yes.
Councilman Wareheim.
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy. Supervisor
Yeah,
Vecchio.
wait. Yes on A through D, abstain on E.
So noted.
Okay. Item number 6.
I didn't vote
I
yet.
thought you voted.
Yes.
Item number 6, the town board to authorize the controller to execute the following as per 6A through F: a transfer for personnel salaries, B, a transfer for accruals, C, a transfer contingency, D, an increase in account, E, gifts and donations, animal shelter, and F, transfer account special programs.
Councilman Malloy.
7 is town board to authorize.
Vote. I'm doing a vote.
Oh,
Councilman Malloy.
yes.
Councilman Wareheim.
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy.
Yes.
Supervisor Vecchio.
Yes.
Kevin, you go. Kevin, go ahead.
Okay, 7, the town board to authorize the supervisor to execute the following on a form approved by the town attorney. A, hold harmless an encroachment agreement. B, agreement with Greenman and Peterson, Inc. C, agreement with New York State Department of Transportation. D, agreement with New York State Department of Transportation.
Councilman Malloy.
Yes.
Councilman Wareheim.
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy.
Yes.
Supervisor Vecchio.
Yes.
Town Board to authorize the release of the following: check number 17069, State Bank of Long Island, in the amount of $750.
Councilman Malloy.
Yes.
Councilman Wareheim.
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy.
Abstain.
Supervisor Vecchio.
Yes.
Number 9, Town Board to approve the following personnel matters: full-time appointments, seasonal appointments, salary change, seasonal appointments, part-time appointment, extended medical leave, seasonal appointments.
Councilman Malloy.
Yes.
Councilman Wareheim.
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy.
Yes.
Supervisor Vecchio.
Yes, I have one read-on, and it's to increase gifts and donations in the amount of $400, and increase in account called supplies in the amount of $400 in Horizon's budget.
Councilman Malloy.
Yes.
Councilman Wareheim.
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy.
Yes.
Supervisor Vecchio.
I don't have enough. Okay, this also, a read-on, it's to authorize the supervisor to execute any and all documents regarding the above application, to transfer 208 gallons per day of allowable sanitary flow from town property at Old Northport Road to 161 East Main Street.
Councilman Malloy.
Yes.
Councilman Wareheim.
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy.
Yes.
Supervisor Vecchio.
Yes. Okay. I assume that all the people that wish to speak on the Santilli application are not here? Okay, I'm assuming that. You want to keep those anyway? David Werner, Family Festival, St. James Church, wishes to be heard. Family Werner here? Philip Werner. David.
John?
Would you come up, please? You okay? John McQuaid. Is it John McQuaid here? Yes.
I wanted to, I represent a youth organization in Kings Park Youth, and several weeks ago we requested permission to install in a park in Kings Park an AED device, which is, to our knowledge, valuable for saving children's lives, especially those that play, are active in sports. And we were turned down, but not given any kind of explanation as to why. We offered to cover all the costs associated with it, all the training, and I wanted to just see if there's either a misunderstanding or if there's anything else we can do to try and clarify what we're trying to accomplish.
Were you turned down by letter?
Yes.
And who's that from?
Mr. Matthew Jakubowski.
Okay, can you read it in the record? I'm not familiar with that.
Sure. To me, to KPY, automatic external defibrillator at Kings Park Memorial Park. Dear Mr. McQuaid, in response to your correspondence regarding the installation of an AED and locked storage cabinet for use by the Kings Park Youth Athletic Organization at Kings Park Memorial Park, we must respectfully decline your request at this time. We recognize the significant potential benefits that AEDs offer and wish you success in your efforts to implement a lawful and safe AED program. Very truly yours.
Yes, sir, Mr. Solo.
Mr. Supervisor, obviously, Matt Jakubowski, my deputy, wrote the letter. I reviewed it. We had discussions. And as I understand it, the Kings Park Youth wanted to have the defibrillator there on the town property, specifically for their own personal use, but they didn't want to take on the responsibility of monitoring. They wanted the town to bear that burden. And I thought that it would make more sense that the Kings Park Youth takes care of it themselves, and as they want, when they have the games going on at the fields, they have someone from their own organization bring it there and take it back, so the town does not bear the burden or the responsibility or the extreme potential for liability with respect to this. So I thought it was prudent to deny the request. We appreciate it, but all the responsibility would fall on the town with no corresponding benefit, and I just think the liability potential here far outweighs the benefit that would go to the Kings Park Youth.
Sure, please.
If I may comment, and that I'm not, I'm acknowledging that's perhaps how we stated our request. We're very willing to offer it to anybody who uses those fields. We didn't mean to suggest that it was just for our use. It's for any children. We would be willing to purchase, maintain it, keep it updated, and do whatever is necessary to keep it functional, and give access to it to anybody who's trained, who has has use of the park.
It's my opinion as counsel for the town board, and obviously the town board is free to do as they want, but I believe that it's putting a tremendous burden on the town by taking that responsibility on and making sure it's maintained, people have access to it, and that there's tremendous potential there for liability to be imposed upon the town. And I just think the safer course of action, because it's not just the Kings Park youth, then it becomes all the other organizations that see what happens with you to say, well, you're doing it for Kings Park, now do it for St. James, now do it for Comac. And again, it's a policy, I think, that would just put the town in a position for tremendous exposure down the line. So that's my legal opinion, that's my recommendation to the town, is not to do that. And you are free to take it to the field when your teams, when your organizations and league is playing, and have it there and then take it away. And I think that makes more sense. You have, I believe, I would think that you can coordinate that amongst the different managers or league members.
We do have several that we do bring with us on occasion, but operationally, it's, we have over 65 coaches. It makes no sense to have 65 defibrillators. And I was wondering if you could clarify for me what other groups would ask, because if any group that was using Memorial Park wanted access to it, we would give them access to it. There's no question of it would be available to anybody who felt the need to have the potential to use
And
it.
as I guess as you stated initially, the way the letter was drafted, you wanted it for your own use, and that's not something that I wouldn't.
No, and I apologize for that, and that's a misunderstanding. We recognize that it's public property, and we would be donating it to the town and to the parks for anybody's use. Where we want to put it there to save kids' lives. Period. We would be happy to also train anybody that wants to have access to it.
Mr. McQuaid?
Yes, sir.
I know that you had called me, and I apologize for not getting back to you. Just got the message this afternoon. Maybe I can clarify it a bit. I think what the town attorney is referencing, as former Parks Director, if we were, first of all, we've gone over this many times before with a myriad of different groups, football, St. James Smithtown Little League, Hop Hog Little League, that's Concert League. The problem for the town is, and I tend to agree with the town attorney, is leaving it on the facility, any park facility, there's no possible way that we can ever ensure that it's not been tampered with, that the equipment has not been vandalized and put back. And then if somebody that is trained does go to use it and it fails, we would assume a tremendous amount of liability. If you just did it in the Kings Park Memorial Field for KPY, and I reside there, every other league would expect the same thing. And this issue, although it's laudable, has come up before. And in talking to the various groups, we decided that the league should have someone that's responsible to bring it to that field for that day's play. Not that, I agree with you, not to get 65 different ones for every coach, but someone would be assigned to bring the defibrillator of your own and use your own trained personnel, because there's just no possible way to do it. Someone could tamper with it overnight, put it back, it goes to be used by a trained person and doesn't work. The town would
I mean, I'm no attorney, and I understand that you need to protect the town and the citizens in the town from any kind of liability.
Right.
There are laws passed all over the country by municipalities and states that these things are required. In fact, the Kings Park School District is required now to put them in an outside container that is accessible by coaches. Obviously, and we're willing to use whatever tools or storage devices that are appropriate for this kind of thing, and pay for that. So I don't understand how other municipalities and or school districts or states can pass laws saying that these are actually required because of the history of saving kids' lives. And the town of Smithtown saying, no, we're going to take on liability for actually putting them in there. I don't understand.
Allow me, you indicated that law was passed in the Assembly and the Legislature of the State of New York, which applies to school districts? Okay, well, it doesn't apply to towns. Now, I'm not familiar with that letter, but I do remember the letter that came in requesting this. My first impulse, and I wrote across it, sent it to the town attorney, was, okay, we would keep the defibrillator in a town facility, in a blockhouse there that we have, correct? What if, that's a big question, what if somebody damaged the lock the night before? Incident occurred, you went to get the defibrillator, you couldn't get in, the town would share a responsibility. That was my first thought. I had no other discussion other than that. So that's a reasonable thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess we have to measure that against the possibility that it wasn't tampered with and it saves a kid's life. So I mean, are we being a bit too conservative with and covering our legal
Yeah.
areas
But the
Yeah.
answer is,
without I mean we're talking about no cost to the town. If there's any kind of way we can assume the liability, we will do that. We've been it's an organization that's been around since 1960. We've been serving the youth of Kings Park. This is not, a neighbor coming in and willing to install this. We're willing to maintain it, and if need be, accept responsibility for
I
it.
think you have to recognize that sometimes reasonable people can disagree, and what you have, the circumstance Supervisor Vecchio described can happen, and then you'll say, well, gee whiz, it's not the town's responsibility if someone tampered with the lock and the defibrillator didn't work. We get involved in litigation all the time that we shouldn't be party to, but we're in it, and it costs us hundreds of thousands of dollars to defend these cases. I could tell you an example. We have cases going on right now that you look at them and say, how could people dare sue the town of Smithtown who had nothing to do with it? We're a deep pocket. We're the easy one to go, and at depositions, you go to court, they're going to say, well, who controlled it? And we're going to say it's on town property. We assume the responsibility to put it on town property, and we can never be so safe to ensure that no one will damage it. And the conservative view is actually don't take on the responsibility. That's the conservative view, and I respect your concerns, but we have to balance that between the potential for people suing the town when something goes wrong versus your concern for the members of your league. And I put the burden back on the league, then I think it might make sense just to have people responsible to bring it to the field when the games are being played. I don't understand, if I was in your position, I'd be saying the same thing, but the town gets sued all the time for cases we shouldn't be in, and I just see what you're proposing to be another example that we will end up somehow being brought into a lawsuit because the defibrillator didn't work, it wasn't accessible, or something along those lines. I just think it puts us in a tremendous, at a tremendous risk of liability. And
There's a lot of criminal mischiefs that happen in all the parks, and I'm thinking, from your point of view, I understand where you're coming from, but if it's possible, think if you're stolen, broken, you don't know what you're going to get to when you open that cabinet. I think you guys, maybe as the league, might want to say, okay, we're going to have 5 people that are in charge of this thing. It's always there. It's always safe. It's always going to work. I wouldn't want you to go over to that cabinet and all of a sudden find out things broken, dead, stolen, cabinet empty, which could happen. It's criminal mischief. That's why we have code enforcement, park rangers. Every night we got criminal mischief. You could go tomorrow to play a game and it's gone. That's the problem. I think for you guys, it'd probably be safer to have one of your coaches that you've had for 50 years, always be, or 5 coaches be responsible to have this unit there.
And we do our
knowing that it works and it's charged, it's ready to go.
Yeah, and we do our very best to do just that.
Well, I'm sure you do.
To make sure it's available.
I just don't
And
want you
can
to have a
tell you
machine that doesn't work.
In trying to coordinate as many teams as we do, I mean, we service about 1,200 kids a year in a lot of different teams. Just the baseball season, as an example, there's 65 teams. To coordinate even 5 AEDs at all the fields, that sometimes those fields get changed an hour before because of weather and other issues. Do we stop and not have the game because the AED is in the wrong place?
Well, I guess
Or
on
do
both
we
sides
take some risk and put it on the facility and so you're saying as an attorney that it's not possible for an organization to take responsibility or take over the liability for maintaining that?
guarantee you, we could make the tightest hold harmless indemnification agreement, and we will be named in the lawsuit, and eventually the case will go to trial, and it will cost us, whether we're successful or not, it will cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars to defend the case.
Again, I'm not an attorney, and I apologize if I'm taking up more than my fair share of time here, but how do all these other municipalities and school districts do it then? I mean, they're all doing this
Okay.
because there's all kinds of evidence that these things save kids' lives. How do we get it done?
Well, may I answer that?
Please.
They may not be as diligent as we are, but that's possible.
And the other,
Now, let me also finish. It's not a question of being sued. We have a fiduciary responsibility to every citizen of the town. So if a lawsuit ensued, we were found partly responsible, you and I would pay for that. And by the way, I coached for 12 years in the Kings Park Little League, and I don't recall that incident ever happening, having the need for a defibrillator.
No, it doesn't happen every day, obviously,
know.
but there is, as I said, all kinds of evidence that they save lives. 7,000 kids a year die on fields that have heart failure, that these things could potentially save them. So
But you do understand the position we've taken.
I do. I guess I respectfully disagree, and I'd like to explore other ways in which to
Fine.
get this done. And if I'd love your advice or suggestions about where we can go next, because you know, we want to continue to explore the possibility of making these more easily available to the coaches that need them.
why don't we
Not
just-
KPY coaches, but any coach that uses that field.
I have a question. John, what about the Good Samaritan law? Would it apply to that unit? I'm not an attorney, but I know it applies to doctors under certain circumstances. Maybe we could find a way to make it work under the Good Samaritan law.
well, I guess the question is, the board sets the policy. If you'd like me to meet and see if we can come up with something that
Doesn't hurt
works.
to look. I'm only one person, of course.
Okay, why don't we just say that we'll revisit, okay?
Okay.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much for all your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I'll move to close the meeting.
Second.
Supervisor Vecchio?
Yes.
Councilman McCarthy?
Yes.
Councilman Wareham?
Yes.
Councilman Malloy?
Yes.